Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Renu Tyagi from Sardar Patel Institute of Economic and Social Research. Today we will be talking about the module Nutritional Requirement for Normal Growth from Infancy to Old Age of the paper Human Growth, Development and Nutrition. As we all know, human nutrition is a very important component for the normal growth and development. The human nutrition and its related factors are quite important, which gives an influence to the human growth and development. Basically the human growth, how it can be normal, that is more important. The various nutritional factors we can classify in three categories: the physical, physiological and psychosocial. Accordingly, the different stages of life, the human growth can be categorized in different stages of life, which ranges from infancy to childhood to adulthood and then to old age. So the different stages of life have different nutritional requirement, and there are various factors which keep influencing the nutritional requirement with the different stages of. After finishing up this module, we'll be able to learn the nutrition and the related factors and to understand the different stages of life with the different energy and nutritional requirement at different stages of. Now, what is nutrition for us? What do we understand by the term nutrition? Nutrition can be basically classified into two broad categories. The nutrients which are required for the normal growth and development of our human bodies are micronutrients and macronutrients. Macronutrients, which are required in the larger quantities, basically they are called as carbohydrates, fats and proteins. These carbohydrates and fats are required for the normal energy requirements of our body, whereas the proteins are required for the growth and development and wear and tear which keeps occurring in our body throughout our life. Macronutrients gives the energy and provides normal growth and development. Besides, these micronutrients also gives us the energy, but they are majorly meant for the normal functioning of the different biochemical reaction which keeps going on in our body. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals which are required in an adequate amount. So, and proper combination of macronutrients and micronutrients are essential for the normal growth and development of our human body. Now, there are various factors which keep affecting the nutrient or nutritional intake of a human body. As we know, the energy requirement keeps changing with the different stages of the life. Besides different stages of life, the nutrition keeps on changing with our age change, with the change in the gender, because males have different nutritional requirements, females have different nutritional requirements. Then it keeps changing with the different body sizes. Different body sizes means a person who is underweight or who is normal weight, they have different body requirement. Besides, body sizes also means like an athlete needs a more nutritional requirement. They have a more nutritional requirement as compared to a normal human being. And it depends upon the level of activity also, like the kind of physical activity which keeps going on in our body throughout the day. Like the kids keeps playing, they are more physically active, so they need more energy as compared to the normal people who keep sitting, who have a sedentary work life or work style. They have the lesser nutritional requirement as compared to the kids or the athletes. Throughout the life cycle, nutritional needs keeps on changing in our body. As compared with it also keeps on changing with the body composition changes and with the changes in the different stages or different phases of the life. During the period of extreme growth and development, like during the pregnancy period, the nutrient requirements are different. They are more than the normal people. And similarly, during the illness also, the nutrient requirements are different. All the factors which keeps influencing the nutrition can be broadly categorized into three groups: the physical changes or the physical factors, physiological factors and psychosocial factors. The physical factors, what does the physical factor means which influence the nutrient intake of our body? For example, the geographical location of ours, where we keep staying, that also decides our nutrient requirements. Then the food technology which influence our nutritional requirement. Then the income status of an individual keeps influencing the nutrient intake of an individual. Physiological factors can be categorized as the health, the kind of health status we have, and the kind of hunger we have, and the stages of the development of our growth and development. The psychosocial factors can be classified as the culture, the religion from which we comes from, or the kind of tradition which we follow, or the kind of education we have. So that keeps influencing our nutrient intake. The different stages of the growth of a human being can be classified into 5 broad categories. The infancy stage, which ranges from the birth to the 2 years of the age. And the second category is the childhood category, which can be further classified into 3 broad groups, that is early childhood, middle childhood, and late childhood. This early childhood ranges from the age 2 years to 6 years, and then middle childhood range from 6 to 10 years, and then late childhood ranges from 10 years to the age of puberty, which is different for the boys and the girls. The third broad category of the growth of an individual is the adolescent stage. The adolescent stage is the transition phase between the childhood and the adulthood. And then adulthood is like, it's a phase which is from the age of puberty to the 6 years following the age of puberty is the adolescence age. And then adulthood is the stage which is classified from 19 years onwards to 30 years. In the adulthood itself, we have a category called middle age, which ranges from 30 years to the 60 years. And then from 60 years onwards, we categorize an individual as an elderly individual as per the Indian standards. A person who is 60 years and above is classified as the elderly, and it keeps changing with the different nations because they have different age criteria for classifying an individual as an elderly individual or the. There are changes in the body proportions with the age. As we know that infancy is the period of rapid growth. So during infancy, there is a significant increase in the body length as well as in the body weight. And in the childhood also, there is an increase in the length and the weight, but as compared to the infancy, is relatively lesser. And again, during the adolescence, there is a rapid change in the body proportions. And by the adulthood, there is a stability in the physical growth of an individual. Now let's talk about the stage of infancy in the human growth and development. The infancy can be defined as the period from birth to 1 year of age, which is generally classified as the most rapid period of the human growth. During this 1 year of age, their birth weight doubles to the 4 to 6 months of the age, and it gets tripled by the 1 year of the age. And during this infancy stage, by 1 year, the length increases about 50%. So there is an enormous increase in the weight as well as in the length of an infant by the 1 year of the age. During the second year also that continues, but as compared to the first year, the percentage of growth declines, but it can be called as a rapid growth in the second year as well. During the first year, the immune systems also mature, and it matures by the age of 4 to 6 months of the age of an individual. During infancy stage, the motor skills, both gross as well as the fine motor skills, also changes. They also develop to their extent. Like the gross motor skills, which can be called as the rolling over of a child, sitting upright, walking with a support or without a support, they develop during the infancy stage only. And the fine motor skills, which is the coordination, the sophistications in a child, that also develop by the infancy stage of an individual. Nutrition during the infancy. As we all know, the different nutrient requirements takes place during the different stages of the growth and the development, and infancy is a period of rapid growth. So nutrition makes a very important role during the infancy stage of an individual. For the first to 6 months of the life, the breast milk is the best source to fulfill all the nutrient requirement of a child. So after the 6 months, the supplementary foods can be given to an infant. The breast milk provides the energy requirement, the protein, the fat, carbohydrate, calcium and iron, etc. to an infant. So it can be called as a complete food for a child till 4 to 6 months of the age. The breast milk provides the special proteins, antibodies, and the whole blood cells which helps to protect the infant against different kind of infection which he or she has to face in the life. The breast milk also provides the growth factors and the hormones important for the healthy growth and development of an infant. The children need to be exclusively breastfed for the first 4 to 6 months of the life, followed by the introduction of the safe and adequate supplementary or complementary food together with the continued breastfeeding up to 2 years of the age. But that supplementary food should be started after the 6th month of a child. Nutrition during infancy is quite crucial. The breast milk, as we all know, is supposed to be the complete food for a child up to 4 to 6 months of the age. It provides infants with the natural immunity to many infectious diseases like the jaundice, etc. Breast milk is economical, nutritionally adequate, sterile, and easily digested to a child. The child need not to have anything else by the 4 to 6 months of the age if the child is exclusively breastfed. It has health advantages for the mother as well because it lowers the risk of several type of health problems, especially several type of cancers among the women also. The breastfed infants grows more rapidly during the first few months of the lifespan than the formula-fed babies and have the fewer infection. There are several research evidences which has proved these findings, but then we can't deny the other way around also. The breast milk should be offered every 2 hours to the first few weeks because child cannot demand for the milk. So the frequency of the child to be breastfed should be maintained as after every 2 hours, as the child is solely dependent on the breast milk only exclusively for the first 4 to 6 months of the age. Weaning. After 4 to 6 months of the age, as we have already talked about, that milk cannot fulfill all the needs for the energy and the nutrient requirement of an infant. So after 4 to 6 months, we need to supplement the infant food with some supplementary food. The baby must be given other foods in addition to the breast milk or the infant formula. And this process is called as the weaning process. Weaning before this age is not recommended. That is the age of before 4 months. In the intestine and the kidneys, because intestine and the kidneys may not be able to process the supplementary food which we provide to a child before the 4 to 6 months. The solid food must be semi-fluid and it should be softer. It should be introduced after 4 to 6 months of age and should be done gradually. We should not do it. We should not solely keep on the supplementary food. We should supplement it with the breastfeed, so that the child should simultaneously be having the breast milk as well as the supplementary food. The typical order of the introduction begins with the cereals, usually the iron fortified rice, then oat, then wheat, and then mixed cereal. So it should be done gradually, cereal by cereal, and it should not be done together with all kind of cereals mixed together. Now let's see what is malnutrition. Malnutrition is the condition of having an improper amount and balance of the nutrients. These macro and macronutrients balance changes. It's not normal. So that results in the malnutrition among the children, among the adults, among the elderly. So it can take place any stages of life. But it influences the infants and the children maximum. The malnutrition may result in the slower growth of an individual. It may be responsible for the susceptibility of diseases. Our immunity level goes down and it results in the creation of or resulting in the several different kind of diseases, especially among the infants. The marasmus or kwashiorkor are the most commonly found diseases among the infants. Marasmus is basically there is an stoppage of the growth among the infants. They stop growing. And if it like kwashiorkor, it results in the accumulation of the fluid in the limbs, faces, and different parts of the body of an infant. So malnutrition generally affects, it's globally, it's a very serious problem all over the world. It's influencing the children all over the world, especially the children from the Southeast Asian countries and South African countries. They are maximum influenced due to the malnutrition. Malnutrition generally takes place because of the lack of macronutrients and micronutrients both in the children of these particular two regions which I have specified. So to keep an adequate balance of the macronutrients and micronutrients in a human body is required for the normal growth and development, and they should be seriously taken care of. Otherwise, that results in the different serious problems, like it may result in the low birth weight of an individual, which can further makes the infant or the child to be susceptible to different kind of diseases and the health problems and related consequences. So malnutrition is basically responsible for a heavy toll of death all over the world. Like as per the WHO standards 2008, it has been said that the malnutrition has claimed almost 35% of the deaths. So that's seriously taken care of. So nutritional content makes a very important component of our body. So we have to take a serious concern of the adequate amount of the macronutrients and micronutrients to take in different stages of the body of the human being. As we all know that nutrition plays a crucial role at each and every stage of life, and during infancy it matters a lot. During infancy, if a child is born with a low birth weight, then there are many complications which are associated with the low birth weight child. The low birth weight child are more prone to the mortality status. They have impaired mental development. They have increased chances of developing the adult chronic diseases. The child who are low birth weight may result up in the inadequate catch-up growth as well. They have the more probability of the frequent infections. Inadequate food may result in the improper health and the care, and inadequate feeding of such child who are already low birth weight may result in a stunted child, the child with a inadequate height as per the age of that particular child. The stunted child may develop into a stunted adult if it is complemented with the inadequate food and health care to that particular child. So then adolescent may be stunted as well. So such adolescents will have the reduced physical capacities, will have the less fat-free mass, and if those stunted adolescents are further not given the adequate food or adequate nutrition, they may develop into a malnourished mothers or malnourished women, and during this such malnourished mothers are having more probability of giving birth to a child who is again low birth weight child. So that cycle goes on, and there is an intergenerational cycle of malnourishment if the nutrition is not given the adequate attention. The childhood stage. How do we define the childhood stage? It starts from the age 2 through the beginning of the adolescent. The growth in the childhood is slower as compared to that in the infancy stage. The childhood, as we have already understood, can be categorized into 3 further categories, that is early childhood, middle childhood and later childhood. The early childhood is the milk teeth period, which occurs during the age of 2 to 6 years of the age. The middle childhood is during the age 7 to 10 years of age. The late childhood period is from the age 10 to the puberty or to the adolescence stage. The nutritional requirement during these 3 stages of the childhood also matters a lot. They need to be given specific attention because the inadequate nutrition during the childhood stage may result or may impact the next stage of the growth of an individual. The energy and protein needs for the children vary during the childhood stage. All the 3 stages of the childhood, that is early childhood, middle childhood and late childhood, there are the different nutrient needs, especially the energy and the protein nutrients. However, the recommended intake are not differentiated for the boys and girls until the age of 9 years. But after 9 years, the energy and protein requirements varies for boys as well as for the girls. Generally, the protein requirement is more among the boys as compared to the girls of the similar age. However, the micronutrients requirements, especially the iron requirement, is more among the girls as compared to the boys. Childhood and nutrition are quite important. A good supply of protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, vitamin D as part of the healthy balanced diet is important. Calcium is required for the healthy teeth development, and together with vitamin D, it helps to make the strong bones among the boys and girls. Children have a higher energy requirement for their body size compared to the adults because of a rapid growth among them as compared to that of the adult. And they are very active also. So being active and being growing stage of the life, the energy and food requirement is more among the children as compared to the adults. The nutritional implication for the school-aged child focus on the health promotion. A nutrient-dense food actually is required for the children as compared to the adults, because their nutrient requirements is more as well as their caloric requirement is more. But nutrition have to be there because of their importance, because adequate energy and nutrients are essential for their adequate growth and the development. The adequate nutrients are also important for the children to have a sufficient level of energy and sufficient growth. It is also important for them to have an adequate amount to drink. So an amount of fluid also be taken care of. The young children have small stomach, so they need to eat small but frequently. So frequency of the meals should be taken care of during the childhood stage of an individual. The childhood and nutrition are very important because children begins to take responsibility for their own food choices around the early childhood. So it's become important to encourage them to have a healthy diet and a variety of foods in their diet, which can be rich in fruit and the vegetables, as they'll be needing both macronutrients as well as the micronutrients. So an importance of food and fruit with the vegetables need to be made them realize that this is quite important for their adequate growth in all aspects of their body proportions. The nutritional concerns of the childhood include the hunger, the malnutrition, the micronutrient and protein energy malnutrition. So if an adequate attention is not given to the nutrition during the childhood stage, these could be the problems which might result in the several kind of illnesses or the deficiencies in the body of a child. Especially the deficiencies of vitamin A, D, zinc, iron and protein might take place, and these things may result in the illness, the reduced growth or the stunted growth, the limited development of the brain, and in case of the vitamin A deficiency, it could possibly result in permanent blindness as well. So an adequate amount of micronutrients and macronutrients is very crucial during the different phases of the growth of the childhood, that is during the early childhood, middle childhood and the old childhood. Adolescent stage. As we all know, adolescence is a transition phase between the childhood and the adulthood. The adolescence is characterized by a rapid growth in the physical, emotional, social and sexual characteristics of an individual. During this phase of life, the growth spurt generally occurs and the maximum growth takes place in the different dimensions of a human body. The growth generally begins in the different ages in among boys and girls. Like generally the growth spurts range from 12 to 15 years for the girls and from 13 to 16 years among the boys. During the growth spurt or during the adolescence phase, the girls start menstruating and there is an increase in the iron demand and decrease in the different nutrient intake of the girl. Among the boys during the adolescent spurt, there is an increase, there is a massive increase in the muscles, in the bones, in the lean body mass and in the muscle mass. So as we know, like these are the growth phases which takes place among the boys and the girls differently. So accordingly their nutrient intake also varies as per their body changes. So the iron demands increase more and it should be given more to the girls, and the more protein and more macronutrients are supposed to be given to the boys to match up with their increase in the body dimensions. So adolescence it's a very critical period of the growth, and it requires the specific nutrients in a good quantity and at the frequent intervals. So that is a very important stage of the human growth and development. Adolescence and the nutrition is equally important, because adolescence is a transition phase between the childhood and the adulthood. The nutrient needs, especially the calories, protein, calcium and iron, increases to support the growth. These nutrients of importance are the vitamin A, iron and calcium. So there is an utmost importance of these particular nutrients during the adolescent stage. So improving in fruit and vegetable rich diet will help in obtaining the adequate amount of vitamin A. The demand for the energy and most nutrients is relatively high during the adolescent stage, because the growth spurt or the highest growth after the infancy takes place during the adolescent stage only. So that demands for the energy and the nutrient requirement should be adequately met. The boys need more protein and energy as compared to the girls for the growth due to their later growth spurt. Boys get their growth spurt during 13 to 16 years of age, and the girls get it during the 12 to 15 years of age. So they need more protein. The girls needs more iron than the boys to replace the menstrual losses. The girls need about 15 milligrams and the boys need about 12 milligrams of iron during the adolescent stage. So it's important to encourage an active lifestyle among the adolescents with a healthy and a balanced diet during this stage of the growth to have an desired growth of a child. Monitoring the children's growth is quite important to have an idea about the adequate nutrient supply during the different stages of the growth of a child. Among the boys, we can monitor the children growth by studying the body mass index for the age percentile. This graph shows the boys of 2 to 20 years percentiles where an required growth has been shown, which should be achieved by a child during the different phases of the growth of the boy. This graph shows the desired body mass index with the age percentile for the girl from 2 to 20 years of age. This way we can study that desired or the required body mass index changes among the girls at the different stages of their life. As we all know, adulthood is a period of the more stable growth as compared to the childhood and the adolescence. By adulthood, the physical growth is completed and all the body parts and the body organs are fully developed. The early adulthood is by the age of 19 to 20 years, where adult has generally stopped growing physically. The middle adulthood is the stage of 40s and 50s, where there is a change in the body composition, hormonal shift is there, and activity or the physical activity level decreases among the individual. There are change in the body composition means there are change in the body fat distribution in different parts of the body. And then old age, which is defined after the 60 years of age, it is the consequences of the earlier lifestyle choices as well as the age changes. Adulthood and nutrition. Nutritional requirement do not changes by the age of 19 to 50 years except during the pregnancy stage and during the lactation. During the middle age, the preventive nutrition can promote the health in the later years. So preventive nutrition should be followed during the middle ages. Preventive nutrition is defined as the dietary practices which are directed towards reducing the diseases and promoting the health and the well-being. So one should take care of the kind of food a person is having during the adulthood stage or during especially the middle ages. The physical activity and the proper diet can decrease or prevent the weight gain, developing the high blood pressure, diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. So an adequate diet and physical activity need to be maintained during the adulthood. The healthy eating, like eating the unrefined carbohydrates instead of the refined carbohydrates and avoiding the trans fat and the saturated fats, help to promote the growth and to have a stable period during the adulthood. This is a table which shows the recommended dietary allowance for the Indians. It shows the different group of the individual, the children, boys, girls, adult men and adult women, with their reference weight, with their recommended dietary allowances for those particular groups, and the actual intake of those allowances, and the gap between the recommended and the actual intake. As from the table we can see that there is an increase in the recommended dietary allowance with the increase in the age among the children. However, there is a gap in the recommended dietary allowance and in the actual intake. If we talk about the boys and the girls during the childhood and the adolescent stage, we can see that there is an increasingly higher recommended dietary allowance for the boys as compared to the girls. But the gap in the RDAs, that is recommended dietary allowances, and the actual intake is seen to be more among the boys than among the girls. Similarly, the gaps are found to be quite higher among the adult men as compared to adult women in the recommended dietary allowances and the actual intake. These are few important terms which are being used in the nutrition of the different kind. The recommended dietary allowances, estimated average requirement and the adequate intake. The recommended dietary allowances, that is RDA, is the amount which is sufficient to meet the daily nutrient requirements of the most of the individual in a specific life stage and the gender group. It's intended to serve as a goal for the daily intake by the individual. However, the estimated average requirement, that is EAR, is the average requirement for healthy individual in which the functional or clinical assessment is conducted and adequacy determined. This is limited to numbers due to the few human studies. The adequate intake is the one which is based on the observed or the experimentally determined approximations of nutrients intake by a group of apparently healthy people that are assumed to be adequate. This is need when the RDA cannot be determined in a particular context. For example, in Indian context, this is referred to as an acceptable intake. Now, older adults, whom do we classify as older adults? As per the Indian classification, the people who are 60 years and above are classified as the elderly people or the older adults. And with the change in the age, among elderly people also there is a change in the requirement of the calories, and energy level also changes of the elderly people. But with the change in the age, there is not much changes in the nutrient intake. However, we are supposed to make some changes as per the age changes, because our nutritional requirement remains the same but our caloric requirement declines. This picture shows the undernutrition and its various causative factors. This shows that undernutrition among the children and adolescents of 0 to 19 years could be due to the maternal nutritional status and the socio-economic status of the mother, as well as the educational status of the mother. The undernutrition among them could be due to their poor health or inadequate food intake, or due to the improper care. It could be also due to the inappropriate breastfeeding practices. It could be due to the different kind of access to the health care, inadequate access to the health care, the poor sanitation facilities, food insecurities, poor dietary diversities, and due to different infections or the other kind of inadequate food intake among the children. This is a picture which is showing an importance of healthy hydration among the children. The children need to keep themselves adequately hydrated to have an adequate or the needed impact of the kind of nutrients they are taking. They are supposed to have the plenty of water. They are supposed to have the good amount of fluid intake, because their body needs to be hydrated adequately to keep growing adequately, or as per their body growth requirement, they have to have an adequate hydration in their body parts. The caloric requirement declines, so we have to find out the food who are nutrient rich or the nutrient dense food. These changes in the older adults takes place because of the several body changes, like there is a change in the taste and the smell of the food, there is the change in the dental health among the elderly people, because of change in the chewing conditions of the elderly people, that keeps on changing, so the food requirement also keeps on changing. The elderly people face different kind of health problems also. With advancing age, there are different health problems, so illness status also keeps changing our nutrient requirements. And then our financial status also decides what we all finally are going to take. So that also keeps changing our nutrient requirement. So among elderly people also there are several physical and physiological changes which keeps deciding or which keeps changing our nutrient requirements. As the nutrition quite important during the infancy stage, similarly the nutrition is equally important among the older adults. With the advancing age, there are various changes in the body of an elderly which demands the different or the differential nutrient intake in the individual. There are changes in the taste and the smell which may affect the food selection, the food preparation methods, dietary variety and the nutrient intake. Besides that, elderly people face several health problems for which they might be taking some medications, and those medications may also interfere with their vitamins. Medications may alter the food intake and it may cause the reactions that interfere with the normal nutrient metabolism and the requirement. As people age, the osteoporosis, which is the loss of the bone with the age, the osteoporosis chances increases, which makes the bones more weak, brittle, and they might break easily. So this may lead to the fractures to them in the wrist, back or the hip. So osteoporosis is a very major problem among the elderly, especially the elderly women. After menopause, that is the cessation of the menstruation cycle or when menstruation stops, the women lose their bone strength at an increased rate. So the adult should aim for a healthy body weight for their height and try to keep it at that level to have an adequate nutrients. The nutritional or the energy needs changes with the age. The energy requirement declines with the age. However, the individuals often do not make the comparable changes in their energy intake, leading to an increased body fat content. A lower energy requirement represents the challenging nutrition situation for the elderly people because vitamin and minerals needs often remain same or they may even increase for many nutrients. The challenge for the elderly is to meet the same nutrient level as when they were younger, yet to have the same number of calories, and which can be achieved by selecting the food which are high in the nutrients in relation to their calorific value. That means they have to have more nutrient dense food. This pie chart shows the important nutrition concerns for the senior citizens, which could be the food allergies, weight loss, lack of variety in the diet, malnutrition, impact of the food on their mental clarity and mood, the medications and their side effects, and the lack of desire to eat. So the elderly have to take care of all those things to decide their nutrient intake. Now we know that caloric needs of the elderly declines, but the vitamin and minerals requirements may remain the same. The older adults should have the plenty of calcium intake from the diet, but also remain active and have the adequate amount of vitamin D from the foods or through the action of the sunlight on the skin. Elderly over the 65 years of age who are housebound should take a daily supplement of vitamin D as the skin synthesis of this vitamin requires sunshine. With age, the diet needs to contain enough calcium, fibers, iron, protein and the vitamin A, C, D and the folacin. So it's necessary to eat a variety of food to get the full spectrum of the nutrients, especially the vitamins and the minerals in the elderly diet. This picture shows the daily requirement of the elderly people, as we have come to know that they are supposed to have a variety of food in their diet to maintain or to get the adequate amount of different kind of vitamins and the minerals in their food. And they're supposed to have the nutrient dense food as well. So these are the different kind of servings which they are supposed to take in their daily diet to meet their nutritional requirement. So students, let's summarize what we have learned from this module so far. We have studied the different stages of the growth and development among the human beings. The different crucial key stages of the human growth and development can be broadly classified as infancy, childhood, adolescence, adulthood and then old age. And by now we have learned that at the different stages of the growth and development, there is a different nutritional requirement of each and particular individual. So we'll have to keep changing as per the bodily requirements or bodily demands. So nutrient intake has to be in the concurrence with the kind of stages we are going through. And then throughout the life we have to maintain, or we have to manage our weight accordingly, because it might lead to the overweight or obesity or something like of that complications, which can further decides, or we can further keeps unwanted changes in our body. So an physically active routine or regime is required to be maintained, and adequate amount of different nutrients are need to be taken care of. For these things to be maintained and managed, the national, state level and local level strategies need to be developed. The government has to support accordingly, and individual level also will have to take care of our growth and development requirement, and accordingly we can manage the different stages of life as per the requirement of the nutrients. And besides that, like in case we want to have a normal growth and development, we'd have to manage the nutrient requirement throughout the life accordingly. The dietitian and physicians are also supposed to add to our efforts. They are supposed to have an preventive and treatment accordingly. They'll have to suggest the preventive measures. Suppose if they are expecting, if they want us to be little healthier and have to manage a well-being, they are supposed to suggest the different ways and the strategies to manage a good weight, to manage a quality life, to manage a healthy life. So it's we need and combined efforts of each and every individual. It's at individual level also, it's at community level also, it's at society level also, and thereby we can manage the normal growth and development, and accordingly we can manage the different nutritional needs at the different stages of the life. This way we can manage the different stages of life as per the nutrient requirement and vice versa. Thank you very much.